It's 7th of January 25, and I saw something on YouTube today from STV. I don't really watch STV news anymore, or whatever, but it was, for some reason, they were showing that the population of Scotland until 1923, over 1923, mid 23, had risen the fastest it's done since 1946. So basically after the war, and it was almost all to do with non-EU immigration. So to me, it's a tragedy, and well, no, I mean, just predicting the way things are going to go, I think it's going to be anarchic, Mad Max. So in that sense, it's probably going to be a bit tragedy. To come here, you don't get judged on women's rights or LGBT plus rights, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. But yeah, this was mid 23, and apparently 24 was the biggest year for UK for a long time. So for mid 24, it's probably going to be even more. So it was 46 plus. This is net, 46,000 plus net. I mean, I don't go by net, I go by gross. But then they're not telling me gross, I don't think. And then 24, you can probably add even more to that. So all coming non-EU from the global south, basically, as Hamza Yusuf calls it, the global south. He was calling it that when referring to a COP meeting the global north to give the global south money, and he wanted to use a term so that people know what countries he's talking about. So that's the term we'll go with. Some might say it's the third world, I don't know, but anyway, yeah. And I did notice that the population of Glasgow, anyways, since 2000, it was always going down from after the war, 1945, until 2000, and since then it's always been going up. So to me, Keir Starmer called Boris Johnson's wave of newcomers from non-EU, from the third world basically, and the second world. He called it an experiment, so he's given us permission to call the last 5 years of immigration an experiment. Some might feel that since 1946 or whatever it's been like that, but anyway, yeah. On the STV programme, it was really good to watch. I mean, it was aired must have been last summer, but they're showing it today. Comments turned off, maybe because it's such an interesting story, so important. Because Rabbie Burns considered going over to Jamaica to work in the slave trade at one point. So all his statues, somebody's going to say they've got to come down. At the moment, it seems that it's too sensitive an issue, probably for the SNP marchers. They want to keep them on side at the moment because there's not enough change. And apparently, the change at the moment for the 2011 census, apparently 83% call themselves white Scottish, so native Scottish. In 2011 was 83%, and I think another 8% identified themselves as white. So that was around about 9% non-white. Then you've got another 8% probably from East Europe. And so that native Scots were 83% in 2011. So I don't know what they are now, because the census was 2023, I think. So probably well under 80% now, I would imagine. I think non-whites is now around about 14%, 13%, 14%. That's 2023, mid-23. We've just had a bumper year for third world in 24, so it's probably up even more now. So I think natives are going to have to realise that you're going to become a minority. In the future, people might not want to vote SNP. They don't identify with it, They don't identify with bagpipes and haggis supper and Rabbie Burns and that. It's just one of these things. If you're worried about it, the only option at the moment is to vote reform, I would say. We don't know how women's rights is going to go. I mean, from Nicola Sturgeon's viewpoint, um, the burqa is part of her spectrum of how Scottish women express themselves. So I'm guessing it never used to be for Nicola, but she's changed her mind over the decades. So the burqa is now a part of the spectrum of Scottish women expressing themselves. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, I would say female gen mute is now a Scottish tradition, whether you like it or not. So far, no MSP support it, but maybe in the future there will be. We just had in Britain an MP supporting first cousin marriage, because I think Reform were trying to make it illegal in Britain, or England anyway, in Wales, probably England. It's not the sort of thing you should have to make illegal, but it seems that it's not a thing that natives do. I think among natives it's like 0.01% or something, or less, whereas in Bradford I think it's about 60%, or maybe down to 40% now, but quite a lot. So I think this is something to be a bit anxious about. SNP and Labour MPs would call me the R word for being anxious about it. If you think it's going to be a utopia, there's no fallback at all. You can become a top CEO, leader of the country, anything, if you're using all your common sense and thinking that it's going to be a utopia. Just looking at this, there were 19,100 more deaths than births. So I don't know how they're working this 43,000 out, Is this including this 19,000 deficit? Meaning without inward migration, the population would have fallen. So does that mean there's 48,000 newcomers plus another 19,000, or I don't think so. Anyway, it's a lot anyway. I think it's 0.1% population, and that's 22 to 23, summer to summer. It's not including 23 to 24, which will be even bigger probably. This is the 9th consecutive year deaths outnumbered births. Inward migration did fall slightly compared to the previous 12 months, but there was a bigger drop. In outward migration in the year to mid-23, 131,000 people moved to Scotland, so there we go, 131,000 moved, and 70,000 people moved out. So is this where they're getting the 48,000 from? Because then I'm taking that 131,000 as the gross, and most of them were probably third world or even second world. So that's how we're changing. I mean, that's way over 0.1%. So here we go, 82,000 came from abroad. Well, the remainder moved from elsewhere in the UK, but that again, that might not be native English or thing, but so 82,000, really we're looking at 83,000 people from the third world or second world, mainly the third world, and China, I suppose. The figures also estimate that over a fifth of people living in Scotland are over 65. But one thing I think is going to happen as well is, say in 10-20 years, I think automation and AI is going to put a lot of people out of jobs. I mean, this year I think automated cars are going to be illegal in the UK to a degree. They already are to a degree. A lot of them almost are self-driving, but you need to be behind the wheel. But automation is going to come in, say driving. And somebody was saying on a YouTube video today that low entry level jobs, automation and AI are going to really take a lot of them out. You're going to go to McDonald's drive-through, it'll all be AI basically, or automation for your meal. I mean, we're even getting that in supermarkets like Amazon, where there's no cashiers. It's probably just stockers and self-stackers and security staff maybe. So population grew in most of the largest cities, Edinburgh, Glasgow and Aberdeen. So I think what's going to happen is The native population is going to be a minority. We're going to be a third world majority, and there's going to be very little things for us to do because there's so much automation and AI. So it's just, so it's okay to say it's going to be a utopia. To me, I can use common sense in a lot of things, but I'm not allowed to use it in that. To be anxious about it, a bit anxious. But yeah, so 2011, native Scots were 83%. 2022 census, or was it 23? Probably, I don't know, 75% or something, 3/4 native Scots, plus maybe 8% white from East Europe, basically. So that's the way things have gone, and you didn't even notice it. If you're worried about it, you need to start voting reform as a protest vote. Forget all this stuff about economy and all that. The population grew most in the largest cities, Edinburgh, Glasgow and Aberdeen. I mean, personally, I don't think Scotland exists anymore. Native Scots exists, and they'll get smaller and smaller. I don't know how the politics is going to go, or even social cohesion, or even if we're heading for anarchy. Because SNP are still going on about how rural areas need to have increased populations, which basically means changing their nature as well with the third world collective. I mean, we don't know why these people are coming here. Nobody asks. Nobody knows their views on women's rights or LGBT plus rights. So I can't really figure this out, and this is what's so annoying. I mean, this should be gross. And this is the highest increase since 1946, since after the war, the baby boom, basically. And I'm just looking at the population. See, so the population was going down in Scotland to about 1999. Personally, I think it's to do with the internet, because there's a lot of people around the world that aren't happy with their ancestral homelands, it seems. And even though they're beautiful, warm countries where everyone's alike, they want to come to cold, wet, windy Scotland. I think the only reason people really should be moving is for warm weather and beauty. We should be hearing that Corbynistas are moving to Lagos or, Delhi, but it's not the way things are working out. We don't know why. So the Scottish population in 1999 was 5,072,000. It had been going down the whole time since the war, really. Then people blame Blair. I blame him partly, but I think the internet was the main thing, because these people want away from their homelands for some reason, and that's the first thing they're doing when they get on the internet. So 72,000 there, 2001, it went even down further, 64,000. Then the change started, 2003, up 4,000. I think the first wave was mostly East Europeans, which is why you see a lot of East Europeans food in supermarkets, So that was the first real wave, but the third world wave also started then as well. And of course we already had a South Asian wave in the 1950s. So 2004 was up 84,000. Well, look at that, it's up 110,000. So that's up 35,000 or something. Up another 23,000. What? I can't even work that out. Another 30,000. 178, 170. 2009. Oh, this is 2 years. 202. So we're really zooming away here now. The internet's well on the way. 231 plus Labour as well. Labour are always there to call you the R word if you're worried about this. So I just zoomed after that. 308. So this is a year later. 300. So we're up to 9,000. So that's like 20,000. That's 2 years later. I don't know, 39,000 or something. I can. Anyway, you get the idea, right? It's too small, this thing, for me to work. I can make it bigger. 14. 15. I mean, I'll look at this in myself. 16. 17. Where's the other years? Oh my god, I made a terrible. I can't do it smaller, don't I? Big. What is going on here? Anyway, 2020, 413, 394, 414, 413. I went down that year. Oh, that was the COVID year. Huh. The only year I was saved. And then Boris went crazy. The Boris wave came in. So 21, it was Boris's first big year, 418. So take that from 19. 414. I'm trying for 21. Went up 4,000. And then the next year it went up. This is Boris's thing. It went up 29,000. And then another year of Boris, really. So 48,000 or something. And that's net, that's not gross. Yeah, when you, it's not, yeah, well, I don't know, people moving away. Yeah, people moved away as well. People died. Native Scots, you know. So, yeah, total disaster. I thought Wales would be the same, but I don't think it was. Wales has been growing all the time since 71. But of course, now most of them will be third world. I mean, I think they had a record year as well. 132, 164. Probably most of them third world. 71 it was. So, both these countries have changed beyond recognition. I think the natives have become minorities. They'll be basically third world majorities plus second world. Yeah, and it's happened. You didn't even, well, you have noticed now, but you're still voting Labour, SNP and Greens. I don't know why. If you're worried about it, anxious about it even, vote reform is an Overton window shift, you know, a protest vote. There's also a petition on the government website in a moment. It's got about 2,000 signed it. It's about freezing immigration, basically. Yeah, that's the way we've got to be thinking. If you're worried about it. So I'll go back to this again. Yeah, and that guy in STV said, the expert in STV said, most of them are coming from places like Nigeria, Philippines, India. And like I say, automation is just round the corner. And I think Bill Gates is in favour of the West becoming third and second world majorities plus automation at the same time. He's saying the same things are going to happen. He doesn't seem to think there's going to be a problem, you know, out of that. It's going to develop, you know, I think. And the Keir kindly called it an experiment. Boris's new wave, which is the biggest wave ever of newcomers, and mostly They were from non-EU, basically the third world, really. And second world. So it's okay to say it's going to be predict it's going to be a utopia though, so if you think it's going to be a utopia, it's all fine, okay?